Hello everybody, how's it going today? So as always, we're going to get started fixing a MacBook. That is what we do here, Rossman Repair, is we fix MacBooks. You can check us out at rossmangroup.com if you have a MacBook that doesn't work, or has liquid damage, and someone else has told you that the liquid damage is impossible to fix. Well, sometimes maybe, but most of the times it's not. We'll prove them wrong. So today we've got a MacBook Air that's got some problems. We're going to go over those problems in this video, and I'm going to use some of Paul Daniels' amazing software to help me figure out what's going on with it. Let's see if we can get Paul Daniels' amazing software working. Paul Daniels' amazing software allows us to see the amount of power that the machine is taking. Sometimes. Thank you, Ladislav. I highly appreciate it. I am going to see if I can get the Paul Daniels software to work. Sometimes that's a bit tricky. We're going to get this to turn on. We got the multimeter software. Yeah, the multimeter software, I got that working. Now I got to get the power supply software to do what it's supposed to do. Come on. Come on. Come on, little power supply software. There we go. Look at that, folks. Paul Daniels' multimeter software and Paul Daniels' power supply software ported to Linux just for this channel. What a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I appreciate Paul Daniels. I like his software. I don't particularly like his work on the NVIDIA drivers for Linux, but I can forgive Paul Daniels for what he did with the NVIDIA drivers in Linux, for what he did for the repair community with Flex Board View and this beautiful software that shows up above my head. Anyway. Still pissed off at what he did with the NVIDIA drivers, though. It's kind of fucked up. Although I think Linus already told Paul Daniels what he thinks of his NVIDIA drivers. So what's wrong with this MacBook? So it looks like we got some water damage here. Looks like this has been opened and cleaned before. Let's plug this in. Looks like this DC-in cable has seen better days, so let me get myself another tester DC-in cable. I will be right back. Someone says they're getting an error on Twitch because Twitch is run on dial-up. It's not able to handle high bitrate streams. So all of you on YouTube, you don't get a high bitrate stream. I'm going to lower it again so that the Twitch people can get their stream. Can't have nice things on Twitch. Jeff Bezos can't afford the bandwidth.
How do you say pineapple? Do you move this over there? Ananas. Ananas. It's like every language is just English stuff. This is spinning at a higher RPM. That shit is wild. Plus, actually, not only that, the hair inside, it's not hair, it's helium. That shit wild. Yeah. It feels weird, right?
We only have one Air DC-in cable left.
It's the same. Uh-oh.
Where's the inventory department?
Where is the inventory department?
Someone's getting a gut
Bozo
punch.
knows up. Bozo Jr.
How do we have one of this? This is like the most popular thing that we fix.
Is it the
Look at this.
1604?
Look at this, 1722.
Oh, yeah, 1722.
Find the inventory department. Give him
Curb stop them.
single leg kick is you do this and then launch from here. Right to the shin.
I know where he is.
Give him a kick to the shin when he gets out of the bathroom.
Is there a mouse pad floating around anywhere?
I don't know.
Like a spare one, maybe in the cabinet back here?
I used to sell right to repair mouse pads with a picture of my kitty on it. You may find that, but I don't think so. All right, so we've got ourselves a DC-in cable. For all of you on Twitch who have no video, you may want to head over to YouTube where the stream actually works. That's youtube.com/Rossman Group. youtube.com/Rossman Group. I am incapable of having access to their servers or doing troubleshooting because I don't work for Twitch. I am not an IT manager at Twitch. So this is what you get. Okay. Zero amps and no green light. DC in plugged in? And we can make some measurements here. All right, 18 volts is on the input there. PP342 present, you need that to get a green light. I was able to use the Australian consumer law to force Apple to give me a refund after paying for an Apple Care replacement on an iPhone SE as they were advertising it as a good hand splashes. Just thought it was interesting for you to Australian viewers. So that I need to make that show up on the screen for more time so that I have more time to read it. Because that was a really long message in a very tiny bit of time. Some people have been messaging me about that, and I do want to check it out. The false advertising with regards to splash resistance. Okay. So this is giving me nothing on PP3V42. What about up here? Nothing. Nothing here. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is going to make an interesting one. Let's open up a schematic in a board view. This is an 820-00165. I'm going to try to explain what's going on, you kind folk. Lovely people out there that decided to join the stream today. All right. Fuck you, NVIDIA. God damn you to hell, NVIDIA. You go to hell and you die. Man, NVIDIA on Linux is some bullshit. I have to minimize chat while I'm talking, because if I have the chat window over it, it does this blinking shit. See, when I minimize the chat window so I can't read it, then I'm able to talk. Okay, so let's go over what's going on here. So let's go over the... NVIDIA is such horseshit on Linux. It's just... I really should get a separate chat monitor by now, but I'm a cheapskate. I should get a separate chat monitor. I really should. That would be like the professional streamer's thing to do. I'm just such a damn cheapskate. Like I should just do that after the stream is done. It's not even that. It's just where am I going to put it on the desk? I got to find a place to put a chat monitor. I'm going to find a place to put a chat monitor. Anyway, I can't see what any of you are saying, so I'll come back to this in a moment. So the way this works is you have. Let me see if I can get a full screen schematic over here. Actually, that would be best. Flex schematic. Okay. There we go. So I have to minimize OBS as well. Oh my god, that's so stupid. Okay. So this is... Fuck you, I just minimized OBS. You bastard. You absolute bastard. Oh, it's Jim. How's it going, Jim? I actually like Jim. I wasn't able to see who that was. I was just cursing because of NVIDIA. I like Paul Daniels' software. I really like Paul Daniels' software. It is good stuff. I just, you know... He makes an easy butt of jokes. Okay, so I can't see anything on the screen because in order for the fucking schematic view to work, I need to minimize OBS because if I don't minimize OBS, I'll get that stupid tearing shit. So I can't see anything right now. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so this is the way this works. So we have from adapter over here. This is the power that's going to come from the charger, and it goes through Q7180. After it goes through Q7180, then you're going to have pulses of it go through this transistor. So we're going to have pulses of 18 volts that are going to turn into 8.5 volts over here. This chip, the ISL6259, is going to control this transistor. It's going to tell it to turn on, off, on, off, on, off. And as it turns on and off, it's going to let this voltage from here, from the charger, go through to this inductor. So anytime this turns on, power go through. Every time this turns off, power not go through. So this is going to smooth it out. You have an inductor here and a bunch of caps to ground. That's going to turn your pulses of 18 and 0, 18 and 0. Instead of 18 and 0, kind of average it out. It'll be a nice even 8.5 volts. And you can see that on my video I did a long time ago on how a buck regulator works. I actually show that to you visually on the screen. Now, I just measured at this resistor over here, and I get 0 volts. So when I measure on the DC in fuse, all the way on the DC in board, before you actually get to the motherboard, I'm getting 18 volts. So that, you know, that is working, but it's not getting anywhere else on the board. And one of the things that often happens is that this transistor goes bad, and when it does, it doesn't allow anything through. Sometimes it goes bad in a fashion where it won't let anything through with an original charger, but it will with a knockoff charger. And sometimes, in these cases, it may not even let anything through regardless. And I think that could be part of what is happening here, because I get nothing on this current sense resistor over here, which means I'm not getting my PPDC in. So let's, one of the things that I want to check out is, let's see if it's present over here on C7185, but not present over there. Because I checked over here, and it, motherfucker. What's your main OS, Windows or Linux? Linux, that's why I'm cursing, because I can't have the chat on the screen while I'm working, or while I'm showing you the window. So back to our, but thank you. I really should set this up differently, because like right now my incentive structure, because of the not being able to have OBS open on top of this window, is to yell motherfucker when someone actually donates money to me, which is really kind of a rude, perverse incentive. But this is the Linux thing. So like if I have OBS over this and I try to move around this window, okay, now it's not going to do it. Go fucking figure. But it was doing it before. You saw it. So here, and maybe it'll work now. So this, one sec. I'm going to copy these two. Now I'm going to figure out how to make this. Linux is not going to beat me. Linux is not going to beat me, you fuck. You're not going to win. You're not going to break me down, Richard Stallman. Anyway, so this over here, I want to see what I'm getting at PPDC and G3 hot, because I know I'm not getting anything over here. That'll tell me if the transistor is bad or if the U7100 is not allowing that transistor to open. So let's move this over here, make it take up only half the screen again rather than the full screen. No need for it to take up the full screen. And I'm going to do some measuring. I repaired a portable USB screen today for the sole purpose of using it as a low space consumption screen for OBS and live chat. Maybe you should look into getting one. Maybe. I will take a look at it. Okay, so let's get the board view. Let's have this on with my multimeter. You bought NVIDIA for Linux, never buy NVIDIA for anything. If you want Linux, use anything else. I got this graphics card 2.5 years ago, and I don't feel like replacing it because I use Linux. It's like a $900 graphics card. It's an RTX 2080. I got it on sale, so I didn't pay full price. But it's an RTX 2080, and it has a little liquid cooling loop and all that shit with it, and it's pretty silent. So also, DaVinci Resolve works much better with NVIDIA than AMD, so it's kind of worth finding a workaround, because if I use AMD, that doesn't work. Also, for the Twitch people, Twitch sucks. Just use YouTube. You'll get video on YouTube, but you don't get video on Twitch, and I can't really help you there. So this is, what was I doing? So let's go back to Flex Board View. So we're going to check out PPDC and G3 hot. Yoink. So that's going to be on C7185. C7185 is right here next to the ISL6259 chip. So I'm going to flip the board over and check what I get on that capacitor. So I get 17 volts there. Now we're going to check. So we got 17 volts over here. Now I want to see, just double check and see what we get over here on the end. So C7184. Coder says the RTX 3060 has been announced today. 400 is an absolute steal and outperforms the 2080. Yeah, 2.5 years have passed. This thing being close to 900 when it was new is, it's not new anymore. So I would hope that stuff gets better and cheaper as time goes on. But I've abused this and made lots of videos over the last few years. Okay, so we get 0 there. So this transistor is not opening. Now we got to figure out why it's not opening. Ha. Thank you, coder. All right. So let's check out why this transistor isn't opening. So how does this thing work? So this here looks like two p-channel MOSFETs. So the way a p-channel MOSFET is going to work is the p-channel MOSFET. Son of a, it's doing it again. It's doing it again. Yeah, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck you, Linux. Fuck you, Linux. Okay, maybe I move this to a different screen or something. Move to a different desktop. I'll move it to desktop 2. Alright, does this... I get it, but... Yeah, oh well. Anyway, I'm going to have the schematic on a different desktop for now. So so if you're going to donate, I'm just not going to be able to read it. Anyway, let's try this again. Okay, so this is two p-channel MOSFETs. The way this is going to work is that when the voltage is lower on the gate than it is on the source, then it will open. So you have the voltage that is on the source over here. It's going to be 18 volts. Now the gate voltage, the only way to lower it here is with this voltage divider. So you got this resistor R7185 putting 18 volts in the gate. Now that's going to work as just your normal resistor that's going to have 18 volts in the gate, same as 18 volts in the source, which means it never opens. Remember, the voltage is going to be lower on the gate than the source. So that's where R7186 comes in. If this goes to ground, once that goes to ground, what happens is it's going to have lower voltage at this middle point, because then it's going to be working as a voltage divider. I've got an old video on how a voltage divider works that should really kind of sum that up for you. Now, U7100 has to be working for this to be the case. So let's see what we get over here. I want to see what we get at this point at R7186 pin 1. Is the voltage lower on there than it is in the source, or greater? One way to find out, right? So go back to our board view here. Fuck you, NVIDIA. Linux is almost ready for prime time. No, it's not. No, it's not. Just give it one more year. I wish DaVinci Resolve would work with AMD better, but you can't use a lot of the encoder if you use AMD. It disables a lot of options. I'm excited for the right amount of flux. Well, it's going to be coming. You'll see. You'll see. That's going to... Oh, God. What? What? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, I'm getting attacked by Linux again. I'm getting attacked by Linux again. Oh, stop it. Oh, stop. Okay, there we go. So, where was I? Ah, yes. R7186 is going to be over here. Let's pull out the microscope. Get a view in there. Do you feel free? I feel free. Feel free to start taking medication to help me deal with my Linux usage. Freedom! All right, 17. So the transistor is not being told to do its job there. Yeah, 17. That transistor is not going to open. Now, why is that the case? Is that cap up there shorted? Let's see. No, it's not. Now, this over here, this chip is going to be what controls the opening of that transistor, right? Right? Take a look. This chip is going to be what allows R7186 over here to have a path to ground. R7186 will not have a path to ground. R7186. Oh, fuck Linux. Fuck Linux so hard right now. Anyway, R7186 is not going to have a path to ground unless it goes through U7100. So once the U7100 chip turns on, it will give the R7186 a path to ground, which will allow R7185 and R7186 to be a voltage divider. It sure does, Immitcraft. It sure does. And then charger A gate over here will then be lower than the source of this transistor, which will allow it to open. But U7100 is not doing its job, perhaps because it's not turning on. Now, one of the reasons it may not be turning on is because it's missing one of its main power rails. One of the main power rails here is PP342_G3 hot. That's the rail that's supposed to come on first, remember? Let's see if that's coming on first. Let's take a look. Yeah. The blinking on the screen is just all I have to say about Linux right now. You can't have a window over another window without it blinking. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. PP342_G3 hot would be over here. Nothing. Now let's see what we get on input. Also nothing. Okay, let's take a look at the PP342_G3 hot creation circuit. I have to buy another monitor because I can't have one window mildly on top of the other window in my operating system that is free. I actually would have to buy another monitor in order to use my free operating system. LOL. Lowell. Yeah, Aaron. Okay. So, let's get back to here. So, PP342_G3 hot is missing. I got 0 volts here. However, I just measured at this diode over here, D7005, and I also got 0 volts. So, let's take a look here. Why is there 0 volts there? Let's keep going backwards. What's going on over here? Now, PPDC and G3 hot, we know we have that because I just measured that a second ago and that's there. So some screwery is going on over here. Let's take a look at Q7010. Q7010 is a transistor that is going to open, because it's a P channel, when the voltage in the gate is lower than what's in the source. So let's take a look at what makes that happen. You have this over here, you have 18 volts on the source. How does voltage get to the gate? Well, you have these resistors over here that bring the voltage to the gate, 100 kilo ohms and 10 kilo ohms. This is not really going to drop the voltage much here, because there's not much amperage going through the circuit. That's not going to really drop it much. But this diode to ground would. See this diode? So this would then turn it into yet another type of voltage divider. So you have R7010 to the point where you'd want the voltage to go to, and then the point where you want voltage to go to ground. Now this diode obviously needs to be working. Let's take a look at D7012. So let's see what D7012 looks like, because that's the thing that's going to keep this from working. You can gargle my balls. You can gargle my balls. Anyway, back to this. Let's see. All right. So we take a look at the diode over here. Let's see what that looks like. Perhaps if the free driver actually did what it was supposed to do and didn't crash all the time, I would use it. But no, I'm blaming the wrong person. I've only been using Linux since 2002. Maybe if you just kept waiting, it would get better. If you just kept waiting. Just wait a little longer. Just get some more grays. I started using Linux before I finished puberty. Like, get the fuck out of here. Oh, get the fuck out of here. Get the flying fuck out of here. All right, so take a look at this. So this is a little diode over there. What do you see? What do you see? We zoom in all the way. I'll turn the HDR up a little bit. Look at that right solder joint there. That's pretty bad. It will work if you compile with the right flags. No, you're thinking of Gentoo. You spend 10 hours on IRC to compile a single program, then it will work. Okay. We do this. Now there's something I want you to notice about this diode. And it speaks to the mentality that Apple has about the people that try to repair their products, as well as the users of those products. I'm going to show you in a moment. There's something particular about this diode that I think you need to know. Alright, before we take it off the board, this is incredibly important. You need to see this because it is fundamental. To me, what matters is, can I use a video editor that doesn't suck and crash all the time with its functionality and features? I don't get into the personal politics of why things suck. I have people tell me all the time that I should be using Linux. The right thing to do is to use Linux. If you care about freedom, use Linux. But then when you use it and these things happen, it's, oh, well, most people that want to get work done, they don't care. They don't care. That's not their problem. So I turned HDR all the way up so that you could see that. And as you can see over here, what you'll see is that the diode, it's laughing at you. It says ha. H-A. Ha ha. As in, so we're going to remove that now. Lewis has lost his marbles, that's why. I lost my marbles a long time ago. I'm getting very close to switching to Linux because Windows is no longer an OS, it's just a giant ad. Yeah, you're not wrong there. You're not really wrong there. So the diode chipped when I went to grab it. Also, I have the iron at a very low temperature, so I'm going to up this here. Up that. Let's up this. God. Alright, the diode was still stuck on the pad on the side. Baronets, what you're saying is get this hardware and it will work, but if you get that hardware, then it won't work with the video editing application. And like, I know what the follow-up to that is. Then use a different one. But they suck. And then I know what the follow-up to that is. Then code your own. Like, that's where this conversation always leads. It's going to lead with someone saying code your own video editor. Which is why I kind of bypassed that entire conversation with the response that I gave earlier. That bypasses it. It's like a Alright. Alright, let's get this little diode over here. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the replacement diode also is laughing at me. Is also laughing at me. We should use proper grammar here. Look at that. Look at that. I know that doesn't stand for hydrogen audio. I know that does not stand for hydrogen audio. The designer of this board probably doesn't have Vandersteen Model 7 speakers in their house with a bunch of acoustic panels. They're not using MusePack instead of MP3 in 2002 because they care about quality with their lossy audio. That is not the case here. That is going ha ha ha. You gotta pay for a new one, mofo. Anyway. Let's see what happens when you turn it on. Whoa. Did you see smoke just pop out? The smoke just popped out of that. Does that diode play for the Xanarkand Abes? Smoke did just pop out of that, didn't it? Okay. Alright. You know, it still turns on, but let's do a little bit of quality control here. That cap doesn't look like smoke popped out of it. What do you think of how that looks? That doesn't look really like it blew up. But I believe that it blew up because I saw the smoke escape with my own eyes. Are they HR 824s, DJ Craze? We're not going to think about that, Paul Daniels. How close is Lewis to retirement? That depends on whether ICLN keeps going up. We'll see how ICLN goes. Every election I make bets. It's not based on whether I like or dislike the candidate, whether I agree or disagree with the candidate. It's purely who do I think will win and what will benefit if they win. And I made a bet on I made some bets on ICLN. We'll see how that goes. To be clear, obviously, I am not a financial advisor. God knows I'm not a financial advisor. Don't put money in a shit based on crap that I did or said. We see. ICLN is some clean energy ETF, Jim Hook. I'm still using Gootwick, Coder. I like my Gootwick. I haven't tried other wick, to be honest with you, so it's possible there is better wick out there that I'm missing out on, but this wick has never given me a reason to betray it. It's, I haven't really looked for an improvement. It's always served me loyally. I may touch up some other aspects of this board. We may take a look underneath the board as well. The coder says I keep shilling Gootwick, but no one believes me. Yeah, it's the best. It's by far the best. And it's cheap, too. Erica says I'm uploading a video of Oreo crying for food. Yeah, Erica, I don't know why she doesn't feed Oreo. It's kind of mean. All that cat ever wanted is to be fed. That's all he ever wanted in life. And the meanie Erica never feeds him. Ever. You can see how skinny he is. You may wonder why I'm so close to the component when I usually don't do this. It's because I'm right next to the CPU, and even though the CPU has a heatsink, I really want to limit the amount of time I spend putting heat in this area. Emit, I've never tried that before. The other thing about Windows as a platform is, a few years ago, they let go a lot of the people on the Windows team. They were just axing departments left and right. I don't know how much longer even Microsoft is actually going to be supporting or growing the platform or working on it being a platform. Yeah, by the way, nothing on the bottom of this board looks like it smokes, because that was the area. This is the area where you saw the smoke pop out from, and I don't see anything in this particular area that's smoked. So I'm guessing it came from that capacitor because that's what I saw it come from. Now I'm just going to do a once-over, and I'm going to go over the sections of the board that were nasty and see what we can touch up here. Now, one of the things that many people ask me, it's one of the most common questions I get is, Lewis, why do you work on the board before cleaning it? I don't understand why you work on the board before cleaning it. And as I always say, the reason that I work on the board before I clean it is because I want to be able to find stuff like that. Do you know how much easier it would have been to simply spot the corrosion if there was just a green blob of junk on top of that diode, rather than having to do research and measure stuff? Like, I researched and I measured things and I used my brain, but using my brain is a total waste because I could have avoided using my brain entirely and gotten this board to work again. All this board needed was to look at the little green dot on top of that diode and replace it. Without ever opening a schematic, you could have fixed it. But once you clean the board, and particularly this wasn't even cleaned that well, but once you clean the board, now you actually have to start turning your brain on. And I like to avoid turning my brain on because my brain doesn't work very well. It's pretty slow. It's more on the smooth side of things, so it doesn't have as much storage space as other brains. It's kind of koala-like in that way. So that's why I don't like cleaning the boards before I start working on them. So I'm just going to go over this, give it a once-over, and replace the things that are likely going to fail. Again, just because we have fixed the problem and gotten the fan to spin, that doesn't mean it's good to go. We have to make sure that this is fixed to a standard where it's not going to come back here because of another issue, which means removing components from the board that technically work but are clearly questionable, and or touching up the joints for those parts. Someone says I saw a JTAG connector. Well, we may be giving them some mercy today. So I added some flux. We are going to touch up some of these joints over here. So I like to think of it like filing my nails, just filing the nails. You don't always have to replace the component. You can kind of get an idea if you view it from the side whether the joints are still okay underneath or the pads are still okay underneath. Those ones I'm not really happy with though, so I don't trust them. So Off they go. Get out of there. Get out of there. Yoink. Also, everybody say hello to Anel. Anel is in the chat. He's doing better. He has a... His back is healing. He's doing a... This resistor is good, even though it doesn't look very nice. That's a giant current sense resistor. And just because it doesn't look all beautiful does not mean that it's not going to do its job. That thing is... by the time that that is bad, the board itself is going to be in pieces. So we're still going to touch it up a little bit. Just like filing your nails. Add solder. And I'm not adding solder because I want a bunch of solder on the pad. I'm adding solder, and then I'm going to clean that off in my little HAKKO 599B thingy, so that the dirty solder is going to wind up going here. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Scrape your rust off. Scrape your rust off. This is not enough flux. I'll just take the whole resistor off. Screw it. Fine. Not enough flux. You want to say not enough flux? You don't think I used enough flux? There. Yeah, I'll put another one on. That was kind of... that resistor was a fine resistor, but still. It just triggers me giving something back to someone looking like that. But that resistor, to be clear to all of you, would have continued to work fine into the future. This is just my OCD at this point. Because technically I could have left that on there. It wouldn't have been no big deal. I tested positive on the virus, and although I'm scared, watching this calmed me down. Saludos decide Mexico. I wish you the best of luck. I know 2 people that got it already. They had, you know, a cough for a few days, and that was that, and they were, you know, back at it, able to go to the gym, do pull-ups, run, all that stuff. So hopefully you're in that group. You know, you get sick for a few days, it sucks, and then you're done. So everybody, send some good wishes to Roberto Terrazas, and my apologies for mispronouncing your name if I mispronounced your name. Oh, Jesus Christ. So much crap here. Yeah. I can't leave this on this board. Hey, you don't want to leave all this junk on there. This is what's going to separate you from the guy on eBay that offers board repair for $70. You know, Tim Herman was telling me that it's driving him nuts that he's got all these people saying, but this guy on eBay does board repair for $70. And it's like, yeah, but you think that they're going to do all this? No, they see a fan spin and they're probably done. You gotta... take the time, do a good job. Let people get an idea of what they're paying for. A lot of people don't want a low price, they want a good value. Make sure you're offering them a good value. I don't want people coming back for the same thing over and over again. You know what the really sad thing is with the newest Apple products? I genuinely feel bad fixing them because I know that they're going to come back for another issue. So for instance, let's say you have a 2016 or 2017 or 2018 MacBook Pro. You're probably going to have a keyboard issue at some point. So even if I fix all these other problems, your keyboard is going to die because it's a butterfly keyboard and they're made to fail. The way that they're made is just, it's a horrible keyboard. It will eventually fail. Or let's say the FlexGate issue where the screen will stop functioning because the cable dies out, and you have to take out all the layers of the screen. That's, in my opinion, not an economically viable repair. Perhaps other people can figure out how to make that repair economically viable. If you're able to figure out how to make that repair economically viable, then you are a better man than I. But the FlexGate one, it's not just the screen cable where you just open it up and ting ting, you're done. It's you're removing every layer of the screen without breaking it, and those are all glued together, and without getting anything in the room, any dust particle at all within any of the 5 layers. It's not just one layer. It's not like doing an iPad glass only, like with the iPad Air 1. This is like 4 or 5 layers of crap, and if you get anything in any of the layers, it will look like shit. But that's that's high level stuff. But if we fix your machine and then 6 months later that happens, I can't really warranty that because that's not what we fixed. It's not my fault that Apple made a product that's a piece of crap. But it really sucks to do repair A and then they need repair B. And the worst part is with stuff like the keyboard, I can't even offer you something that won't fail because all I can fit into that computer is the original Apple keyboard that Apple made. So people will often ask me, are you using a knockoff part here? And I'll tell them for the battery, sometimes for older models, it may be a third party. For let's say, and for the chips on the board, that's an ISL 6259. It's an Intersil chip. It's not like that anybody even makes a knockoff. But when it comes to keyboards, it's like I wish I could use a knockoff. I'm ashamed that I'm using the original because the original is going to die again and again and again and again and again. So it's one of those things where I don't even if I wanted to fix it for you, the only thing I can put in there is the original piece of shit part that was made by yours truly in Cupertino. So it's not even like I can offer you an upgraded or a newer version that's going to be better. So that is a serious issue with the new machines. People have asked if we have computers for sale, and I don't want to sell the new MacBooks. I genuinely don't. I'd rather part them out for individual repairs. So let's say we fix your screen, and then 6 months later your keyboard stops working. I genuinely feel bad for you. I really hate that, but that has nothing to do with what I did. That's Apple's butterfly keyboard failing because it sucks. If I sell you a computer, then I sold you the computer, which means I am liable to warranty everything in the computer, including the FlexGate screen, including the keyboard that is going to fail again. So, I have machines sitting here that probably could be sold, but I don't sell them because I don't trust them. And it's so weird to fix products for a company when you would not even trust those products to work if you sold them. Thank you, The Mountain. Paul Daniel says he doesn't think that those older machines will hold their value once the M1s are popular. I don't know. I mean, people said that about the Retina. Remember when the Retina came out and you saw the screen resolution and how that it was thin and powerful? People thought, there's no way in hell these archaic old pieces of shit are going to hold their value now that you have this beautiful and fast computer. And then, you fast forward 5 years later and people are still sending you A1278s with 2936 boards in them. It's crazy, but people will continue to buy them until the end of time. And they'll continue to ask for them to be fixed as well. I am curious if we're going to be able to find schematics, board views, and chips for the M1 machines, or is that going to be the end of the line? I'm always curious. With each generation of Apple products, is that going to be the end of the line? And we'll see. I work for Apple, and unfortunately I'm not far from you. Can I have a job? I asked you last year on here, let's do it. If you work for Apple, you probably make enough money that you would not want whatever job that I have to offer. Apple has the ability to pay a higher salary than I do. Now I'm going to replace this connector. This thing's going to fail. See that? See that? That joint looks like shit. Eric Johnson, it's easier for me to just wait for the schematic to come out, and much cheaper. It'll just come out at some point on one of those websites, and it doesn't matter who I send the schematic to. Even if I send it to some reverse engineering firm, it's never going to have all the signals on it. It's not going to. It's going to be missing all sorts of information that the original one is going to have that I need. And that may not, even if I did that, and even if I spent the crazy amount of money to get something that may not have all that I need, at the end of the day, it's also going to be about whether I'm able to get the replacement parts, not just whether or not I can get the schematic. Now, that is a big part of it. All right. I want to make sure I'm not soldering on top of corrosion because one of those pins look bad. I am using Ubuntu Studio 20.10 Tech Fan. SUSE was my first distribution. SUSE 8.1 in 2002. I actually bought that at Best Buy for $80. You can actually buy Linux at some point in Best Buy back then. Then I switched to Gentoo and tortured myself for about longer than I care to admit publicly because it's kind of embarrassing. And then I went to Debian, then I went to Windows 8, Windows 10, and then I just went back to Ubuntu because I wanted life to be simple again. Linux is open source, Felix, but in 2002, I did not have the bandwidth to download about 5 gigabytes of stuff. And honestly, I wanted the manuals that came with it. I thought if I had the manuals and all the packaging that... I figured if I pay... This is probably really stupid, naive thinking, but I thought to myself, if I pay $80 for this, they have to give me something that actually works. They can't give me something where I put the disk in the drive and it just doesn't work at all because I paid $80 for it. I know. That's naive thinking. That was really naive thinking on my part, but... I got it, and they gave me pretty little manuals, and I like my pretty little manuals. I'm going to get a replacement connector. That was Windows XP Service Pack 1 era, I believe. I forget if that's Service Pack 1 or 2. That was back when you could get a virus by looking at your computer. That was Internet Explorer 6 days. Remember that? Remember Internet Explorer 6? Oh, I remember Internet Explorer 6. I remember it like it was yesterday. I started using Mozilla, the browser, at 1.0.1. And I realized that I could block third-party cookies without actually having to do much of anything. And I thought and pop-up blocking was immediate. In addition, you had tabs. I remember the first time I found tab browsing, I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world. Mozilla 1.0.1. Then I downloaded Firebird. I think it was version 0.6. Mozilla Firebird. I was sold on it. Never going to forget feeling like such a fool for trying to install a pop-up blocker on Internet Explorer when I could just use a browser that naturally blocked pop-ups. getting the connector off of the replacement board is a bit of a pain in the ass. I mean the donor board. That's what I'm doing right now. Son of a... I had this thing of magnets right next to it, so it wasn't heating up. It was activating the Hall sensor on the side of the quick. Come on. Melt. Melt. Let me get the... What am I doing with this nozzle on here? Here we go. Much better. Take the nozzle off. Roast this board. Okay, backlight connector is off. Keyboard connector is off. Whew. That is a hot board. Certified pre-owned. Not a used connector. It's just certified pre-owned. It's really hard to get that on the board. Let's see if we can hot air it. Let's see if we could hot air it without melting it. That would be kind of curious. I've never tried hot airing this. I usually solder it pin by pin. Well, let's see what happens, just for curiosity's sake. I likely should be directly above it, which I can't do with a microscope, unfortunately. You don't want to get too close that you burn the plastic, but you don't want to be so far away that you don't melt solder. It's a very delicate balance. It's also hard because you can't really see under there. Bearish air was horrible. If you wanted a good Nutella client, use Nucleus. GNUCLEUS. But Nutella as a network always sucked. For some reason, I don't know if it was a lack of users or something, but the downloads were always slow and horrible. If you wanted efficient piracy, you use Usenet. Usenet was where you went for efficient piracy. Yeah, we'll move it up a little bit. Alright, that looks nice. And the plastic's not melted at all. I'm just going to touch up each of the individual joints. LimeWire also sucked. It was so slow. I don't know if it was because it was Java or something, but it was horribly slow. It used lots of resources. It just felt like a heavy program. But all right. So now I wanted to, I've got it on the board, but still, I just want to give it a nicer, fuller joint on each pin. It's really, see these two pads over here? These are called anchor pads. And doing these with a normal soldering iron without burning the connector is virtually impossible, which is why I was using hot air on this one. What you usually do is you just slide it over the end, and then I can use wick at the very end. And then I do this. And I do this. Then all right, and I'll get the keyboard backlight connector on there as well. Come on. A peer-to-peer network is only as good as many users have. I doubt a lot of people are still on eDonkey. eDonkey was nice because it had the links, so you could kind of confirm if you were actually getting the file, a file that other people thought was good with indexing sites. You know, that was an interesting one. Then there was eMule. It's really weird because for a long period of time, and I almost probably still is true today, you actually got a better deal if you pirated things than if you purchased them. Just hear me out here. Like for a long period of time, you could not purchase high-definition versions of the television show 24 for a really long time. However, you could pirate a 720p version of it and it would look better than the DVD version of it. So there were shows where I would purchase the thing so I could feel good, and then I would pirate the high-definition version of it. And then I wouldn't even take it out of the box when it arrived. Because not only would you have to wait a week for it to get there, because you'd have to wait for the mail to bring you whatever you purchased, but you'd also have to deal with the fact that it was lower fidelity or lower quality. And for a long period of time, you couldn't buy lossless music. You could only buy an AAC or an MP3 file. So I could pirate a FLAC file that was ripped using exact audio copy from the audio CD, where they include a log that shows you there was no errors, or I could purchase a 128 kilobit per second lossily compressed file with DRM. Like which one's a better deal? You know, for a really, really, really long period of time, you not only got a better product, but you also got a better customer experience by pirating than you did by purchasing. You know, they really had no concept back then of giving you a good user experience. And I know they would say stuff like, well, most people don't care about quality there. I mean, yeah, okay, fine, but then you're going to lose out on that segment. Baronet says it's kind of true. All streaming platforms stream 24 frame per second, but they set your TV to 60 and it looks bad. Yeah, I was watching something on Netflix the other day, and I very rarely used Netflix for anything, but I was watching this one documentary, and you could see all this tearing in the background. It's like, I see that on my own videos when I upload them to YouTube, and YouTube destroys them, and that's a free service. Sometimes I see better quality in my own video, and if let's say in a dark area, than I do there, because I get it. They have to really shrink the bitrate a lot in order for it to be good. But I'd like to be able to spend additional money and buy a movie that is, 100 gigabytes or 50 gigabytes. I would like the ability to do that. But the amount of people that are willing to pay extra for that is way too small for them to be worth it, setting up the infrastructure, the bandwidth, and the size. So they're forced to find this thing, that one model that's going to work and make the maximum amount of money, which is where's the threshold where your average person is going to say, I don't really care about more bitrate. And they said it here. And I don't want to watch, a 3 or a 4 megabit per second compressed television show. It looks horrible. If you have a good monitor, it's going to make you, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. If someone's willing to pay for a 100 megabit per second H.265 file, let them pay for it. And it's sad because with a lot of stuff, with Blu-ray and HD DVD kind of going by the wayside and new platforms not seemingly coming in to replace them, if you actually do want to see a lot of this stuff in high quality, the mediums are not there for it to go to. So it's, even if you wanted that master file, the only way for you to get a master file of something that you really liked would be if you're friends with the producer or engineer, and he can give you, a final render of it or something. Like, I remember speaking to someone about who worked, I think his name is Bernard Fox. He worked at a movie studio in the late 60s, and he would love, like, going through and finding the reel-to-reels of stuff that he liked, and just staying at night and being able to actually watch the real good quality one rather than when it was aired for television or crap like that. He said it was a real treat. And there's stuff where I would love to see what the original looked like, the actual original, and I'd pay extra for it, but it's not economically viable for them. But that's the thing with piracy, is that if they don't care about economically viable, they're just doing it for lulz, so it winds up being made available. All right, so let's do another once-over of this board and see if we've gotten everything, because you really do want to make sure that the board is at a point where it's not going to come back. So replace the nasty caps and resistors, replace the junky stuff by the Thunderbolt area, replace the bad sensor area stuff, this sensor chip, whatnot. This cap is junk. Get out of here. It's not necessary. It's not essential. And replaced the cap that started smoking at me. That PP bus fuse has definitely seen better days. To be clear, that is a fine PP bus fuse. But I just want to massage it a little, make it look a little nicer. Rub all the junk off there. Okay, you should come off a little easier now. I own a 4K UHD player. I hate how things come on and off platforms, so for stuff I really like, I do buy physically. Yeah, that's the thing. If you want high definition, like real high definition quality, your options are to buy the physical and wait for the physical copy to get there, or piracy. It's crazy. Like, a lot of time has passed since then. A lot of time has passed, but your only options there are get the physical copy or piracy. Or if you want to have a clear conscience, you purchase it, add it to cart, and while you're waiting for what you purchased to be mailed to you, you pirate it but you pirate it without guilt because you paid for it already. All my donors are missing PP bus fuses. Aha, here we go. That's a nice, pretty PP bus fuse. Yeah, that current sense resistor should go too. Really talking about making this board nice. Also, Baronets, my apologies for being a salty prick earlier. I apologize. I was very salty. Basic things not working was getting the better of me. Okay. Okay. So we do this to make it look nice on each side. This is going to look really nice on each side. Okay. I almost forgot about this current sense resistor. That's actually, this is an important area. That resistor, I mean, that capacitor over there I'm okay with as is. That current sense resistor, that's not a normal current sense resistor. That's going to have 18 volts flowing through it. That's not some, sensor thing. This is all the power for the entire system, not even just a single rail. Everything goes through here. So I have a little bit of a higher standard for how that looks than how other stuff looks. Okay, just get rid of the nasty corroded solder that was there. Put on some happier solder. Look at that happier solder. Fitter. Happier. More productive. Not thinking too much. You're replacing everything but the PCB itself. Kind of, yeah. Kind of. Okay. So now I'm going to ultrasonically clean this board, and after the ultrasonic cleaning, it'll be tested in full, put back together. But we got it working just earlier. Got it working again. And I'm pretty sure it'll still give me a happy little fan spin now. There we go. Happy little fan spin. Let's see if we get an image on the screen. I'm kind of curious if that smoking cap near the CPU resulted in anything being dead. And after that, I'll clean it. We'll clean the board, make sure that it looks nice. Yeah. Nice, pretty looking little MacBook. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make a pretty looking MacBook. Now, do you think this will give me a question mark folder or a blank screen and death? What are your bets? We want to try to get a question mark folder. That's our goal. A happy little question mark folder. I'm going to check and make sure that the ultrasonic cleaner is on. Hopefully it's on and hot. It probably will be, since nobody ever turns the ultrasonic off before they leave for the day. That's kind of an ongoing troll here. Yep, and nobody turned it off before leaving for the day. So we have to find out who the last person was and beat them. Did I say beat them? I meant eat them. Going to eat them. Okay. Do we get a question mark here? Uh-oh. You should have question mark by now. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Never mind. Beautiful. Question mark folder's there. Now we're going to clean out the board. And then what I would like to do is I'd like to give you a little before and after, where we get to show you what it looked like before the fix. So you got to see it in the beginning of the video, and then you're going to get to see it after. Now, before I put it into the ultrasonic, a lot of this flux is not going to come off nicely because it's had time to cool off and cake, but the flux will come off almost immediately if it's warm. So I'm just going to heat up all this flux here so that when I toss it in the cleaner, a lot of this stuff will immediately come off. Heat up that flux, this flux, this flux. All this flux should be nice and hot. The ultrasonic and the drying process is about 20 or 30 minutes. I'm probably going to eat something, clean up my office a little. I'm not sure if I'll have time to show you what it looks like after the cleaner. That may only make it into the video that goes onto the main YouTube channel. I mean my OnlyFans. I mean the main YouTube channel. I mean, yeah, the images of a clean board will probably go to the OnlyFans only. Only OnlyFans. Alright, so let's get rid of the caked up stuff there. And then we clean. Little kitty cat. Kitty cat goes meow meow. All right. Okay, so this is what we call ultrasonic cleaner ASMR. You guys ready? You guys ready? 1, 2, 3.
One sec.
Now I get to wait for the board to dry, which is pretty boring. So I'm going to call it a day here. Thank you very much for watching and joining me for this board repair. And as always, I hope you learned something. See you on the